Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel, and let me show you what we're working on.
So in the last video, we made 2 blocks for sharpening chisels. We made one that has 80 grit to 240 grit sandpaper, and this one has 1000 to 7000 sandpaper. So this is really fine, this is really aggressive, and yeah. So in this video, what we're gonna be doing is we're going to be trying to sharpen this right here, this construction chisel. First, let me speak about this chisel. As you guys can see on top of here, there is some hot glue. And the reason why I put hot glue is because this chisel is in an angle. So I put hot glue so that the roller device, I don't even know what this is called, is to keep the chisel at the right angle when I'm sharpening. So to keep that straight, I put hot glue on the chisel itself. That was something I didn't think was gonna work, but it ended up working perfectly fine. And the goal is to get this as sharp as possible and also to get rid of all those, chips. The first thing I'm gonna start with is cleaning the back. As you guys can see in the back, off camera, I started playing with it a little bit to see if I could get it to clean up and see if I could get this black stuff to come off. On the more aggressive sandpaper, which is this one here, this is the 120, but I'm gonna be trying to clean that off on the more finer one. And once I do that, we're gonna start going through the grits on this side over here. But first things first, I want to get this as clean as possible, and I'm going to do that on the fine grits. So let's do that now.
Before I show you my results and what I was doing exactly, I want to show you how exactly I am, moving this around the sandpaper. So I'm putting force here, and at the same time that I'm putting force, I'm not leaning on the handle itself. I'm actually pulling it up just a little bit so that this edge, this blade always stays flat. So I don't want to be putting force here and then moving it left and right. So I make sure that I'm holding it but pulling it up just a little bit so there's no weight here, and putting force with my right hand and moving it across like so. So after working on this for about 20 minutes, this is the result. Look how clean that is. From my understanding, make sure the camera's focused. From my understanding, over here is very polished and here is very polished, and in the middle there's scratches, so it looks like there's a divot, there. You do not want that on a finished, chisel. Since this is gonna be just a construction chisel where I'm gonna be just, doing demo and stuff along those lines with it, I'm not gonna go into making this extremely flat. I'll do that with the other chisels that I have, but for now this is good enough for me. But this is looking really good. I'm really happy with how it came out. I only went up to the 2500 grit. I didn't go to the 5000 or the 7000 because, like I said, this is not a finished chisel. It's for construction. But also I want to mention, let me move this over. I want to mention that I had to replace this sandpaper. You guys saw I used WD-40. To be honest, I don't really know why I used it. I should have went with water. I didn't find a water bottle towards the sink in the back behind me, but I saw the WD-40 and I said, screw it, let me just use that. But unfortunately, this sandpaper, it leaks through to the bottom. As you can see here, this is coming up. It leaks through, and the adhesive that I had, that's why this is here. The adhesive that I used to glue it down, it lifted. So all I used was some goof off to clean it off and then reapplied it. I'm still using the WD-40, but I just think you guys should keep that in mind. So now that we finished the backside, now we're gonna start working on this edge. And also I wanted to point out, let me see if I could get this camera to focus on this. This edge over here is already looking pretty good. From everything that we did, it's all the cracks and all the lines and the chips that it had is going away already. So it's not going to be that difficult to clean this all up, I believe, because you know I don't really know too much about this, but but I believe it wouldn't be too difficult to sharpen this edge. So let me set up the camera in a different position and get this rolling. All right, now that I have the camera in a better angle, what we're going to be doing is, well, first things first, this device is to hold the chisel at the right angle. The right angle being the one that allows me to keep this flat. I have no idea what angle that is, but it's the right angle because it sits flat, as you can see, when I am going up and down. This item I got from Amazon. It was actually, for the price, it's a really good device. I know that there's some more like expensive and high-end chisel holders, I guess I'm gonna call it, but this one does the job perfectly. I think I spent 20 bucks on it, so yeah, I'll leave the link in the description to that. So the goal is to keep this as flat as possible over here and scrape it back. When I was in Maker Camp, Rob was telling me that it's best to just scrape it back because when you go forward, you might be cutting into the sandpaper. So best thing to do is always scrape back, pick it up, go forward, then scrape back again. And just keep doing that over and over. Since the edge, like I showed you earlier in the video, is so aggressively damaged, so chipped, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be doing it on the most aggressive sandpaper just to get the process rolling faster. So yeah, let me do that. I'm gonna keep using WD-40 just because I already started using it, but water is probably the best thing to use if you're going to be using this same exact sandpaper that I'm using. The higher grit ones is like waterproof. This is what you use for cars and stuff, but this one apparently is not holding well. So yeah, so let's start cleaning that up. Before I show you the results of what I just finished doing, which is sanding for about 2 hours, 2.5 hours on 80 grit sandpaper, I just want to mention this was a nightmare. And let me show you where I went wrong. First, I want to say I changed this from 80 to 60. And the reason why is because first it fell off, like this one fell off. The oil got through and it just, you know, it just disconnected, or the adhesive got weak and let go. That is why I put 60 grit. The other thing is, if you look here, that blade is crooked. It's not straight. And the reason why it's not straight is because they have some grooves here, part of the knife of the chisel. So it's cocked this way or this way, whichever way. It's not 90 degrees from this line to here. It's crooked, so it's going this way. That's why we have this over here in an angle, which isn't a big deal because this is gonna be a demo chisel, so it doesn't really matter. So as you guys saw, as I was polishing this or making it nice and smooth,
this was not at the right angle. So I started sanding from this end over, and that's why it took so long, because if you look right there in that corner, I don't know if I could get it to focus. If you look in that corner, it's still not even 100% flat. There's a little bit on that corner, but I'm just tired of using the 60 grit, and this is a construction chisel. It doesn't have to be perfect. So just for demonstration purposes, I'm gonna get it as close as possible like I did, and I'm just gonna go through all the grits now. When I sharpen this one, I don't think I'm gonna have that problem with it being straight, just because both sides are straight. I don't have to worry about this edge over here. It ended up being a bit of a pain to do this, but I'm glad I did it. I got to put on some tunes, some podcasts, listen, and just get this done. So now let me just go through the rest of the grits and finish sharpening this. Also, before I switch to doing this, I want to mention this is definitely not a how-to. This is not a how-to. I'm just messing around, seeing if I could make this nice and sharp for the next big construction job that I do in the future. Well, the chisel is done being sharpened, but before I get into that and all the problems that I ran into with that, let's speak about the stones. The stones came out great. Like I mentioned before, the only problem was that when using the WD-40, I didn't try with water, so we're just gonna say maybe it'll happen the same with water. The more aggressive sandpaper, the WD-40 went through and the adhesive let go. On the more finer stuff, there was absolutely no problem because this was waterproof sandpaper, so there's really no way that it could go through and affect the sandpaper itself. But I believe it'll be a little bit difficult to scrape this up, but in the end of the day, you're going to be breaking it, scraping it up, and then cleaning it, and then you can put the new stuff down. Other than the problem we have with the more aggressive sandpaper, this came out perfect. This was great, and I highly recommend, if you're looking to do it, if you have a piece of stone laying around, definitely do this. Maybe in a short or something, I will see if I could spray glue some sandpaper onto this and see if it sticks. But yeah, I'll see if I'll make that on a short if you guys are interested. So yeah, as for the chisel, number one, the glue stick that I used to try to level this did not work. Didn't work at all. The chisel, because of the shape, I was not able to sharpen this perfectly. As you can see, everything is crooked, and even when polishing, like when sanding it to sharpen it, I wasn't able to go all the way to the end. But you know what, this was a good test. I was able to sharpen a chisel that I use for construction, and when I say construction, I'm saying like 2x4s and stuff like that, not any fine woods or anything along those lines. When using 2x4s, I'll use this, and when working on doors, I'll use these right here. So yeah, so working with hardware, I'll use the other chisels, and when working with 2x4, 2x8s, things along those lines, I'll use this chisel. So that's what it is, and it'll get the job done. This tool right here, this what holds the chisel, this worked perfectly. I really enjoyed working with this, and I'm going to be working a lot with it because I will be sharpening those chisels. So I'm very happy with how this came out. So yeah, let me put the camera down and just take all this stuff off and show you guys the chisel for what it is. And for those of you who didn't understand why I put the glue stick, look at it right there. You see how that slants down? There's like a slant here and it goes here. And it's because you could actually use this side as a chopper. And no, I'm not gonna sharpen that. The way I messed this up, I'll definitely mess that one up. So yeah, that's why it was as difficult as it was to sharpen that. But as you guys saw here, it was able to cut this piece of maple, I think it is. It's gonna be good enough for what I'm gonna be using it. So I recommend the tool. I recommend the project of making the sanding blocks. And I recommend maybe just buying a new one and saving yourself the time and the patience. But yeah, I really enjoyed this project. And if you're looking to make some sharpening stones, I highly recommend this. I'll leave the link to the video in the top right, whichever side is the right. I'll leave the link to that video on the top right so you guys could watch it if you're interested in making your own. So this is where I'll end this video. If you learned something new, you can show me by giving me a like. Any comments or questions, leave it in the comments down below. And if you're interested in seeing more projects like this one or more projects around the house, consider subscribing. And I hope to see you guys in the next one. Thanks.